You are brave to come here, Namdi said, her voice echoing through the chamber. But bravery alone will not save you. In a land far removed from any other, nestled between 7 mighty rivers, there existed a kingdom known as Ngalawa. Ngalawa was a peaceful and prosperous kingdom, blessed with fertile lands, bountiful crops, and thriving livestock. The people of Ngalawa were joyful and content, living under the benevolent rule of King Amodi, a wise and fair ruler whose lineage had long been revered. However, not all in the kingdom's history was idyllic. 20 years prior, a scandal had rocked the foundations of Ngalawa. The king's most trusted advisor, Neka, had been accused of practicing dark sorcery. The punishment for such a crime was severe. Without a trial, King Amodi, urged by his frightened council, had banished Neka and her infant daughter, Namdi, to the evil forest, a place of despair and death, from which none returned. The kingdom quickly moved on, erasing the memory of Neka and her daughter from their collective consciousness. Life resumed its serene course, and the fields and pastures continued to flourish. 2 decades passed, and Ngalawa remained blissfully unaware of the shadow creeping back toward it. The kingdom's tranquility began to falter when strange occurrences started plaguing the land. The first signs were subtle: a cow giving birth to a stillborn calf, a wheat field withering overnight. The people were disturbed but dismissed these as natural misfortunes. Yet, the disturbances grew more frequent and severe. Entire herds of cattle were found dead, their bodies mysteriously emaciated. Crops blackened and died, untouched by human hands or pests. A sense of unease settled over Ngalawa, whispers of dark omens spreading through the villages. One evening, as the sun set behind the majestic hills, a woman emerged from the depths of the forest. She was strikingly beautiful, with eyes like dark pools that seemed to draw in all light, and long, flowing hair that glistened like the rivers of her origin. She walked with a grace that belied her human form, and those who saw her claimed she floated above the ground. This woman was Namdi, the child banished to the evil forest with her mother. But she was no longer the helpless infant. Raised by the spirit of the forest and nurtured by its dark magic, Namdi had grown into a powerful entity. Her heart burned with a singular purpose: revenge. The night Namdi arrived in the first village, the air turned icy cold. Livestock howled and whimpered, sensing the malevolent presence. Namdi did not speak a word, but her intentions were clear. She passed her hand over the fields, and in her wake, crops crumbled to dust. Wells, once brimming with fresh water, turned foul and undrinkable. Villagers who crossed her path fell ill with mysterious ailments, their bodies weakening and wasting away. Panic spread quickly. The kingdom, which had known only peace, was now gripped by fear. Messengers were sent to the capital, their tales of horror and despair alarming King Amodi. He convened his council, but they were powerless to suggest solutions. Whispers of Neka's curse began to circulate, and the old guilt gnawed at the king's conscience. Amodi dispatched his best warriors to confront the strange woman wreaking havoc. Armed with swords and shields, they ventured into the forest where Namdi was last seen. They did not return. Days later, their bodies were found, lifeless and pale, with expressions of sheer terror etched onto their faces. The terror deepened as Namdi unleashed the full extent of her powers. The rivers, once the lifeblood of Ngalawa, turned against the kingdom. They overflowed their banks, flooding the fields and washing away homes. Fish, a staple of the Ngalawan diet, were found floating dead, their scales rotting. Famine loomed as the lifelines of the kingdom dried up or became tainted. Every night, the skies above Ngalawa were filled with eerie lights and strange sounds. Shadows moved with minds of their own, and fires would ignite spontaneously, consuming homes and barns alike. Children cried out in their sleep, tormented by nightmares of dark shapes and whispering voices. Desperate, King Amodi called upon the kingdom's spiritual leaders. They performed rituals and offered sacrifices, seeking to appease the malevolent force. But their efforts were in vain. The spirits of the land had aligned with Namdi, and her power only grew stronger. One fateful night, as the moon hung low and blood-red in the sky, Namdi entered the capital city of Ngalawa. Her presence was announced by a sudden, violent storm. Thunder cracked like a whip, and lightning split the sky. The city's gates were flung open by an invisible force, and the guards stationed there were paralyzed with fear, unable to move or cry out. Namdi walked through the streets, her dark eyes absorbing the fear and panic around her. She reached the palace, and the massive doors swung open at her approach. The king's guards, some of the bravest men in the land, trembled and stepped aside, powerless to stop her. King Amodi awaited her in the grand hall, surrounded by his advisors and priests. His once proud demeanor was now marred by guilt and fear. He knew who she was, even before she spoke. The resemblance to her mother was unmistakable. "Namdi," he said, his voice trembling. "Why have you come here?" Namdi's eyes flashed with anger and sorrow. "You ask why?" she hissed, her voice echoing through the hall like the rustling of dead leaves. "You banished my mother and me to die in the evil forest. For 20 years, I have suffered, nurtured by hatred and the spirits of the dark. Now, I have returned to claim what is rightfully mine." King Amodi fell to his knees, his heart heavy with regret. "I was wrong," he admitted. "I was afraid, and I acted without justice. Please, show mercy to my people. They are innocent." But mercy was not a part of Namdi's plan. Her heart, hardened by years of suffering, knew only vengeance. With a wave of her hand, she summoned a powerful wind that swept through the hall, extinguishing all the torches and plunging the room into darkness. Namdi's reign of terror continued unchecked. She spread her curse to every corner of the kingdom. Fields that once bore golden wheat now lay barren and cracked. The rivers ran dry or turned to poison, and the livestock perished in droves. The people of Ngalawa were reduced to beggars, their prosperous kingdom turned into a desolate wasteland. No one was spared from the suffering. Children and the elderly succumbed to strange illnesses, and those who survived lived in constant fear. Tales of Namdi's wrath spread far and wide, and neighboring kingdoms shunned Ngalawa, fearing the curse would spread beyond its borders. Yet, amidst the despair, a small glimmer of hope began to flicker. A young woman named Amora, the daughter of the village healer, started having dreams. In these dreams, she saw a figure cloaked in light, whispering secrets and guidance. The figure told her of a way to break the curse, but the path was fraught with danger and required great sacrifice. Amora, driven by the suffering of her people and the desire to restore peace, set out on a journey to find the ancient temple of the river spirits. She believed that there, she could find the power to counter Namdi's dark magic and save her kingdom. Amora's journey was perilous. She traveled through the treacherous forest, crossed the desolate plains, and navigated the haunted swamps. Along the way, she encountered many challenges and was often tempted to turn back. But the thought of her people's suffering gave her strength. One night, as she camped by a small, still pond, the figure from her dreams appeared before her. It was a spirit of the river, a guardian of the ancient magic that had been twisted by Namdi's hatred. The spirit spoke to Amora, revealing the secrets she needed to defeat the dark sorceress. "You must find the heart of the river," the spirit said, its voice like the gentle flow of water over stones. "It is the source of life and power for the rivers. With it, you can cleanse the land and break the curse. But beware, Namdi will stop at nothing to prevent you from succeeding." Armed with this knowledge, Amora continued her quest, determined to reach the heart of the river and save her people from the shadow that had fallen over Ngalawa. As Amora neared the ancient temple, she could feel the air grow heavier with dark magic. The temple, a grand structure of stone and vine, stood on the banks of the largest river. Its waters were now black and poisonous, a testament to Namdi's corruption. Inside the temple, Namdi awaited, sensing the approach of her adversary. She had seen the girl in her dreams and knew that Amora posed a threat to her reign of terror. Determined to maintain her grip on the kingdom, Namdi prepared for the final confrontation. Amora entered the temple, her heart pounding with fear and resolve. The air was thick with the scent of decay, and shadows danced on the walls, whispering threats. At the center of the temple, Namdi stood, her eyes glowing with dark power. "You are brave to come here," Namdi said, her voice echoing through the chamber. "But bravery alone will not save you." Amora clenched her fist, drawing on the strength of the river spirit's guidance. "I will not let you destroy my home," she declared. "I will end this curse and restore peace to Ngalawa." With a roar of anger, Namdi unleashed her dark magic, sending bolts of energy crackling through the air. Amora dodged and weaved, calling upon the river spirits for protection. The two women clashed, their powers colliding in a dazzling display of light and darkness. As the battle raged on, Amora remembered the spirit's words. She needed to find the heart of the river. Summoning all her courage, she closed her eyes and reached out with her mind, searching for the ancient power. In the midst of the chaos, she felt a pulse, a steady, rhythmic beat that guided her. Opening her eyes, she saw a faint glow emanating from beneath the temple's floor. With a desperate lunge, she dove towards the source of the light. Namdi, realizing what Amora was attempting, tried to stop her. But it was too late. Amora's hand closed around the heart of the river, a crystalline orb pulsating with pure, untainted energy. As Amora held the heart of the river, its power surged through her, filling her with strength and clarity. She could feel the curse beginning to lift, the darkness retreating. But the battle was far from over. Namdi, fueled by her rage and pain, would not surrender easily. The final showdown between light and darkness was just beginning, and the fate of Ngalawa hung in the balance. Amora stood with the heart of the river in her hand, its radiant energy coursing through her veins. The dark magic in the temple seemed to recoil from the pure light, and for the first time, Namdi's confidence faltered. She raised her hand, summoning a final wave of dark energy, determined to destroy Amora and maintain her grip on the kingdom. But Amora, emboldened by the heart's power, stood her ground. She raised the crystalline orb high, and a beam of light shot forth, meeting Namdi's dark energy in a spectacular collision. The temple shook, and the walls seemed to groan under the pressure of the opposing forces. As the battle reached its zenith, a ghostly figure appeared between the two women. It was Nneka, Namdi's mother, her face soft and sorrowful. Her presence halted the clash of magic, and both women froze in astonishment. Namdi, Nneka's voice was gentle, filled with a mix of love and regret. "My dear child, stop this madness." Namdi's eyes widened, tears streaming down her face. "Mother," she whispered, her voice cracking. "But they left us to die." Nneka nodded sadly. "Yes, we were wronged. But look at what your vengeance has wrought. Innocent lives have been destroyed, just as ours were. This cycle of hatred must end." Namdi's anger began to wane, replaced by a profound sadness. She glanced around, seeing the devastation her quest for revenge had caused. The spirits that had nurtured her hatred now seemed to waver, uncertain in the face of Nneka's gentle admonition. "But how can I stop?" Namdi's voice was barely a whisper. "This anger has driven me for so long." Nneka stepped closer, her ethereal hand reaching out to touch Namdi's cheek. "You must let go, my daughter. Return to the rivers, to the peace we once knew. Find solace in the memories of our love, not the bitterness of our end." Amora watched, holding her breath. The tension in the air seemed to dissipate as Namdi's resolve crumbled. Slowly, the dark aura around her faded, replaced by a soft, mournful light. She dropped to her knees, weeping. "I'm sorry," Namdi sobbed, her voice carrying the weight of her anguish. "I'm so sorry." Nneka smiled, a serene glow surrounding her. "You are forgiven, my child. Now, let us return home." With those words, Nneka's spirit enveloped Namdi, and together they began to fade. The heart of the river glowed brightly in Amora's hand, and the darkness that had plagued Ngalawa lifted, replaced by a gentle, purifying light. As the temple walls ceased their trembling and the air cleared, Amora felt the heart of the river's power dissipate. She watched as the waters outside turned clear and pure once more, the rivers cleansing themselves of the poison that had tainted them. Amora made her way back to the capital, where she was greeted with awe and reverence. King Amodi, his face lined with relief and gratitude, met her at the palace gates. "You have saved us all," he said, bowing deeply. "How can we ever repay you?" Amora shook her head. "It is not me you should thank. It was Namdi's mother who showed her the path to forgiveness." The kingdom of Ngalawa slowly recovered from its ordeal. The fields were replanted, the livestock replenished, and the rivers flowed pure once more. The people, though scarred by their suffering, grew stronger and more united, determined never to let fear and hatred take root again. King Amodi, humbled by the events, dedicated his reign to justice and compassion. He established a memorial for Nneka and Namdi, a reminder of the pain caused by fear and the power of forgiveness. The moral. The tale of Namdi and her vengeance left a lasting legacy. It taught the people of Ngalawa that hatred and revenge only lead to destruction and sorrow. True strength lies in forgiveness and compassion, in breaking the cycle of hatred and finding peace within oneself. Amora, hailed as a hero, continued to live in Ngalawa, using her newfound wisdom to guide her people. And the kingdom flourished once more, a beacon of hope and resilience in the face of darkness. In the end, Nnamdi's spirit found peace, her heart healed by her mother's love. The rivers of Ngalawa, symbols of life and purity, flowed freely, a testament to the power of redemption and the enduring light of hope.